sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series, presented by SimXperience, starts now.
After a chaotic race at Twin Ring Motegi, the Lionheart Retro Series returns stateside for 3 consecutive short-track races that could define the championship. The Magic Mile is notorious for its passing difficulty, but in 4 consecutive years, being at the front has been no guarantee of victory. And with just 8 points separating our title favorites, survival is the name of the game. This is New Hampshire. This is the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined as always by my co-commentator Dylan Cole. TV cameras brought to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com, with some additional car cameras designed by RaceSpott's own Tyler Maxson. You can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to racespot.tv/Indy to follow along with our partners at ATVO. Let's dive straight into the HyperX pre-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. Dylan, last time out in the land of the rising sun, what can I say other than carnage and chaos? But as we head short track racing for the first of 3 consecutive race weekends, this is going to be an interesting challenge. This is going to be a very tough race.
I mean, we're talking about New Hampshire. It is one of the most unique short tracks, and yes, it is the Magic Mile, but let's be honest here, it is a short track by the way it drives. You're going to have to really run the higher grooves on this track, to be able to hold momentum, hold speed, because if you try to go down to the bottom for too many laps at one time, you're going to burn some of that rubber off the car.
It's such a fun racetrack. It's New Hampshire week in the Lionheart Racing Series. The Speedway Series and the DW12 took to the track just this past Monday. We're delighted you can join us on this Thursday evening as the Lotus 79s get ready to rumble. Here's a look at the driver standings presented by the SimXperience AccuForce Pro V2. And, well, the start of the season, Dylan, it was all about Sage Karam, but he's been taking a few weeks off. He has some penalties that would have to be served as well. Now it's all about Mike Rasmussen, Matt Taylor, and I tell you what, after taking his second Lionheart Retro Series victory last time out from Motegi, Taylor is looking strong. He won this past Monday in the Speedway Series.
I think everybody is happy to get away from that Motegi race, because honestly, that was an interesting display of driving from everybody. Ended up being fewer than 10 cars finishing that race. But yes, this driver's standing, this battle has been so good throughout most of the season. And the best part is we're reaching its crescendo right now, nearing the end of the season. Cannot wait to see what happens.
And to be honest, I would not be terribly surprised if someone like Aaron Morgan, with some continued strong runs and consistency, he's always strong on the road courses. Let's see if he can parlay that as we go short track racing. Here's a look then at those rookie standings presented by Buttkicker, and well, it's all about Taylor at the front of the overall standings. It's all about Taylor in these rookie championships as well. Michael O'Brien has had a rough couple of weeks, of course, last time in the wall in the early stages, almost causing some more carnage and chaos when he was a bit unaware of when the yellow flag had come out, or rather not come out, as it were. But you can see it's only 1 point between Chris Fowler and Michael O'Brien. David Sirois, who is always strong on the road courses. Last time around, we saw Dewar Motorsports, Dylan, really turning up the pace on the ovals. Let's see if they can do the same here from New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see what they're going to be able to do, obviously, as we look at the rookie standings right now. Matt Taylor, there's not much you can say. It's not really him worrying about the rookie standings as much as he's going to be worrying about the actual standings, the actual championship battle. I mean, could you imagine coming into this series right away for Avatar and just winning it straight out? That would be quite the story.
And really, I mean, so many strong names in this championship. Even someone like Nick DeGroot, who has had a bit of an on and off season here in the Retro Series, but always strong with Factory Pack when it comes to those DW12s. Here's a look at the team championships presented by HyperX, and really Avatar Auto Racing with 3 strong drivers. They're showing what consistency does, because more than halfway through the season now, Dylan, it's very hard to see anyone displacing them. The battle really is for third on back. iracing Racing and Dewar Motorsports, only 5 points separating those two teams.
Yeah, and again, this just goes to show what it does to have 2 strong rookies in your lineup, with Avatar just blowing away the competition right now. It's good to have a nice team battle, because obviously with drivers counting for multiple points over the course of each race week, I should say, we're going to see bigger swings than we'd see in the driver standings. That's obvious, but at the same time, it leads to this the team standings to be very unique and very interesting compared to the championship battle in the driver's side.
And I mean, we'll see if Graphics LC Motorsports can really turn up the wick as we go through the final stages of this 2021 season. Here's a look at your series details presented by -273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, -273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on -273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit -273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code -273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. These drivers, they are fighting in that classic Lotus 79 custom fixed setups, all done by Andrew Kinsella. I've heard that the work put in for this race week has been even more intense, just making for what should be an even more raceable configuration of these Lotus 79 cars. We are down 2 of the Triple Crowns. We have to now wait till the final race of the season before we head to Fontana for Auto Club and that final leg on that Triple Crown. Of course, watching on from the sidelines now, Dylan, is the man that has won both at Pocono and Indy, Mark Cohn. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to be the one that can do the clean sweep in 2021.
Well, I did want to bring up Mark Cohn because he is second in the all-time lap leaders at this racetrack. Obviously, like you said, he is sitting on the sidelines for at least this race weekend. You know what's interesting? Dustin Wardlow, 61 laps led, 3 wins. I mean, the amount of laps he led coming into each win is so small. Somehow he came away with it.
I said it at the start, it's not all about leading laps here. Track position is important, but just being there at the end is even more important. We've traveled across the pond, or I should say the ocean, from the land of the rising sun to the Magic Mile here. 4 races in the course of Lionheart Retro Series history. 2 of them have ended under caution, and the driver that has led the most laps in 4 consecutive races has never won. And pole position, clearly not as important as people might think, because pole has never taken victory. And like we said, Dustin Wardlow, only about 60-odd laps, led across of 3 races, but he is the king of the Magic Mile. He's taken a bit of a break here in 2021. He returns to Retro Series competition here today, Dylan. Can he make it 4 in a row?
I think he provides a fantastic opportunity to do just that. If we're looking at the practice standings, though, he is not one of the fastest guys on track. The one right now is Trevor Malone.
Malone, I think, was a bit of a bowling ball, or rather, I should say, the pins, I guess, because he's been the one having to go through the motions in some of our races. Only about 23 cars, I think, lined up for today's action. One of the smaller grids we've had here from Loudon, New Hampshire. But it does mean, after what we saw last time around, Dylan, where half the field didn't even make it past about lap 20. We may be in with one of those classic races. 4 trips here, 2 of them have only had 1 caution intervention.
Well, I think it's going to be a completely different race than Motegi. However, I think it's also going to be one where, because it's such a short track, obviously the draft is not really going to be a big factor here. But I also think at that point, we're not going to see much of passing become a huge factor here either. It's going to be huge on track position.
Was hearing that in the practice races, drivers were trying to just figure out high line, low line. Can you make things happen from that low line? And Matt Taylor, who I think is feeling pretty confident after seeing HyperX victory lane just this past Monday from this very track, is ready to roll for qualifying. 5 minutes on the clock, and drivers get 2 flying laps to set their fastest lap time. Track is all to themselves, but we have seen on occasions it is a very tricky pit exit here, Dylan, and I remember on Monday we saw a number of cars looping it before even getting out of the pit access road.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. It's a very difficult pit entry and exit. I mean, you're looking at how small the apron is, but you basically lead onto the track immediately, and this track, well, it's a very slippery one.
You can also see just how many seams there are in the road. You might not necessarily think that's going to make things difficult, but it does mean that we've talked about that outside line being a little bit more easy to roll your momentum and to build up your speed. You can see De Groot is very much just building himself up for his fastest qualifying lap time. The first of those lap times are coming onto the board. It's Mike Rasmas, the championship leader, that sits on provisional pole, but the 96 of Chris Staples goes almost 2 full tenths quicker. De Groot comes down this back straightaway, but this is that lap that I think he's been setting up for. Can he get down a little bit lower? Yes, he does, all the way to that first white line out of turn number 4. What's it going to be for the factory back driver as Trevor Malone goes to pole? It's a 26.049. He will be in 3rd position, but plenty more cars still to come.
I don't think it's good enough. I don't even think Trevor Malone's 9.44 is going to stem, and it's not. Chris Lanini goes just a little bit faster, 100 quicker, in fact.
I wonder if we'll go quicker than that. I don't remember exactly those lap times from qualifying, but as De Groot gets a couple more practice laps under his belt, let's check in with Mike Rigney. The 00 was very racy as well in the DW12. So many drivers.
Zaldo.
Oh, and Zaldo, who is very committed. He is driven back from a holiday with his family to race in this race from New Hampshire. He will be driving back to be reunited, a 25.832, but I still think there are some quick drivers yet to come. Would not be surprised if Matt Taylor manages to go a little bit quicker.
You know what's surprising, though? Not many drivers have taken their, less than half of the field, fewer than half the drivers have set any qualifying times right now. So I just wonder, Jean-Francois Matt just is out there, as well as, I don't know if anybody else, Dustin Wardlow, uh-oh. We'll see what Wardlow is able to do.
Let's see, he wasn't one of the quicker cars in qualifying. He was about, practice I should say, 16th on the board if I'm remembering correctly. Here he comes. That will be lap number 1 in the books. It's a relatively slow one. Puts him at the tail end, but I don't think that's the representative lap time. Here he comes, the king of New Hampshire. Down this back straightaway that is oh so tight when you get cars working themselves around. LeVoit Motorsports 2nd and 3rd position. David Sirois just 200ths of a second off that pole position. It is all about the track conditions and how they cool down. Alex Guyon into 11th, the third of the LeVoit Motorsports cars. What's the time for Dustin Wardlow? It's an 8.72. He's going to be starting inside of row number 2.
I could just tell from the way that car was handling around turns 3 and 4 that it was building up that speed. That momentum stuck with him the entire time, and he was able to put himself into P3 for the time being. Obviously, there are more drivers. David R. Rodriguez, your first lap, it's always going to be the slow lap because you're trying to build up that speed around the bottom. Rodriguez has to lift just a little bit. This is not going to be all that quick of a lap. Oh, yes, it is.
I think it's all about these track conditions, as Aaron Morgan is now the next car we turn our attention to. This is the debut in Retro Series competition for David Rodriguez. He'll be thrilled with that qualifying performance. Here, though, comes the 48 machine out of turn number 4, turning up the wick, leading in the team's championship. He wants to make his mark on the drivers. 897 won't be good enough for pole, but it is good enough for the outside of row number 2. But now we focus on that car that won last time out from Twin Ring Motegi. Watch for Matt Taylor down the back straightaway.
Well, it looks like the longer this qualifying session goes, the faster all of these cars get. 16 seconds left in the session. Matt Taylor, more than enough time to cross the line. Look at the numbers. He crosses it, and he will go into 5th. And look, someone else just popped up. Was it Chris Fowler?
It was Chris Fowler, so staying out late has yielded benefits for these drivers. Let's go trackside from the Magic Mile to take a look at our starting grid here today. And so here is your butt kicker starting grid. He's made that long trip back home, but George Anzaldo puts it on pole position, a 25.832. But the very rapid Canadian David Sirois will complete that front row. Chris Fowler, Dustin Wardlow, very strong contenders on row number 2. The King of New Hampshire returns to Retro Series competition. Second place in the championship for Matt Taylor. He took victory from the land of the rising sun. He won here on Monday. He'll be inside of Michael O'Brien. Aaron Morgan and Jean-Francois Matt line up in 7th and 8th positions, with David Rodriguez on debut inside the top 10. Chris Lanini completes the first 5 rows. Trevor Malone, quickest in practice, 11th in today's grid, with Mike Rasmas, your championship points leader, starting back in 12th position. Mike Rigney, Chris Staples, 13th and 14th, with Isaac Snyder in the pink and blue inside of Nick DeGroot on row number 8. Alex Guyon, Ariel Alanis, 17th and 18th positions, with DJ Clark, the final car to set a lap time, inside of Lionel Callisto on the edge of the top 20. Callisto's always a hard charger. He's got lots of work to do. Craig Forsyth, Chris Reagan, and Gary Corley complete the 23 cars ready to go here today. This should be a fun one, Dylan. This is going to be exciting.
I think it's going to go by a lot quicker than any of us are expecting it to be, especially from seeing everything happen in Motegi, Arjuna.
As always, we have a number of onboard cameras to take a look at. Let's start with Mike Rasmas, SimXperience, makers of the AccuForce Pro V2 direct drive steering system. For more information, visit simexperience.com. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game as we ride around with Chris Fowler. Matt Taylor as the butt kicker on board. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. And from pole position, it is George Anzaldo with the Carnox onboard, makers of the finest esports gaming chairs. We've got your back. Visit carnox.com. 142 laps, 150 miles here from the Magic Mile. We are ready to rumble. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart. And this is a SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. The pace truck is off onto pit lane, and we are racing from New Hampshire. Clear for the lead, but the battle for second rages on as down the back straightaway we come for the very first time. Chris Fowler trying to get to the inside of the 99 of David Sirois, but look out for the outside liners. Dustin Wardlow tries to make something work. Lap number 1 in the books.
You can see some of these drivers dealing with that dirty air going around the corners. It's really going to be prevalent the longer in these runs that we find them. Their tires are going to be starting to wear out. But as we learned from Motegi, is it better to have worn out tires?
Sometimes it is, but crucially it's about burning off the fuel as well and making sure you get yourself as light as possible by the end of this race. There's some side-by-side action with Matt Taylor, who's gone down a number of positions. 3 spots lost for the car that won last time out as we get underway here. Look at these cars flying their way through. Fastest lap powered by ATVO goes to Isaac Snyder all the way down in 19th position. Look at some of this action as we're only 3 laps into this race.
Wardlow made a beeline underneath Chris Fowler into turn 1, and he's trying to do the same to David Sierra. Back into turn 1, takes the low line, and right behind, Aaron Morgan trying to make a move. Or actually, that's Michael O'Brien on Chris Fowler. There's just action happening everywhere. Wardlow, did he clear him? Maybe just by a hair. He's going to get it done, though, into turn 3.
Was able to just send that car up the racetrack and run into the line that Sierra wanted to take. The Candyman, the fastest lap the last time around, but the attack from Lavoie Motorsports continues. Meanwhile, in the crucial fight for the championship, Taylor is trying to get to the inside of Siroir's teammate as George Anzaldo, clean air, already 5/10 clear, fastest lap to the series organizer.
This race is going to go by extremely quickly. We're already done lap 5. Well, about to be done lap 5, and you know who's happier than anybody? It's Anzaldo. He's watching everyone fight behind him. The gap between he back to second place is just around 7/10. You see that number just going up and down. Matt Taylor, the fastest lap so far. He is trying to find his way through the field.
And I think he knows that with Razmas not enjoying the best of runs in qualifying, O'Brien, did he get a touch or did he just have a little bit of a wobble? It is close between him and Chris Fowler, still scrapping over 4th position. But now 6 laps in the books, and Dylan, I mean, we saw some crazy racing from Motegi at the start that we thought it might go green for a while. It ended in tears. I think these drivers will realize after the lessons from that race on the other side of the ocean that they need to get to the end of this race because they will not be able to get those points that we were talking about over the course of that race.
This is the kind of racing I love. Not necessarily a huge trap fest, but where the tire wear matters. Pushing the car all the way down to the bottom. Yes, you could attempt a slide job, but it's going to end up hurting you potentially in the long run. By the way, O'Brien did get tapped by Chris Fowler. However, it looked to be a little bit of net code there. There was some separation. So connections from both of them to the servers might have been a little wonky.
Meanwhile, as David Rodriguez tries to impress on debut, he is fighting right behind Jean-Francois Matt Crystallinini in 10th with the ever-quick teal machine of Trevor Malone just outside the top 10. They've single-filed themselves out basically up and down the field. Razmas really the only car close enough to try and take a look, but I think going to be looking a little bit more in his rearview mirrors as Mike Rigney's running that outside line. He'll build up the speed and try and get the move done. But now, in fact, in front of him, Lanini's made that mistake. Malone's gone around the outside, and Razmas side by side.
Well, you know, at least for Mike Razmas, this is not NASCAR. There's no stage points. Points are only rewarded at the end of the race. There's still a lot of time to go. He can work his way through the field comfortably and carefully. It's just how hard does he want to fight early on and put himself in a bad position. By the way, I know we're watching this battle with Malone and the 68 of Razmas, but Wardlow is now within 3/10 of Anzaldo.
Have you seen the lap times, Dylan? Because last time around, a 26.283 for your race leader. Wardlow trying to chase him down, a 26.282. These two drivers are neck and neck, and I tell you what, after making that long trip all the way back home just for this race, I do not think George Anzaldo is going to give this one up without a fight.
Well, half of Wardlow's wins, he has 6 wins in 75 races. This is his 76th race, have come at New Hampshire in the last 3 years. Anzaldo, this is his 77th race, 0 wins. So both of these drivers have a lot of longevity in this series. However, Anzaldo, he is the driver still looking for that first win, while Wardlow, who has 6 wins, with half of them being here, it just makes it for a very intriguing battle, storyline-wise.
The Dewar's Candy Machine looking very good. Great to see him back in the action here today. Of course, like I mentioned, being missing for most of 2021. I think only 4 starts on the season, but he returns hopefully with a vengeance to make things just that much more interesting. By the way, David Rodriguez has managed to get on pass. Jean-Francois Matt. By the way, it's just popped back into my mind as the battle for the race lead is elongated half a second between first and second, half a second between second and third. And Zaldo was in the picture, Dylan, to try and make something happen last time around, but it ended in tears, it ended in carnage in the last 10 laps of the race.
He was, so you have to wonder, was there a little bit of extra practice in the times that he could get some practice in over the last few weeks? I wouldn't have doubted against it. Maybe he saw that win slip a little bit away from him, and he has that hunger. Look at this. Matt Taylor cutting down, a little bit of a switch around in this line, goes down to the inside into 3. He's going to have to try and make it a slide job. No way it's going to happen, though, on this lap.
We're riding around with the butt kicker on board. Chris Fowler in front holds strong. This is for 6th and 7th position. Now 2 seconds adrift from your race leader. Fuel window. It's a 142 lap race, Dylan. It is a 51 long run of fuel. I was trying to come up with the right words there, but really stumbled over myself. It does mean, I know words are very tough, especially when you're trying to control these cameras as well. 2-stop race. That makes it interesting because if we do get those cautions, as here comes the run from Taylor across the start-finish line, it does mean we may see some very interesting pit calls as there's Taylor through to 6th spot.
He just made that position his, and look right behind. It looks like Taylor, while getting past, is going to allow David R. Rodriguez to try and go against Fowler. Chris Fowler has had a very difficult time trying to stay up in this race. He had a very quick lap starting 3rd on the grid, but he's starting to lose positions very consistently now. He's fighting for 7th place. I don't think it's a long matter of time before he loses it to David R. Rodriguez.
Oh, I'm loving the engine noises as we get that static shot down the back straightaway. I will say, David Rodriguez driving with the RSR Esports team. Usually some of the best liveries in sim racing. Hopefully we'll get that Lotus 79 done in the black and red, the matte black and red of RSR Esport in the next couple of rounds. But Rodriguez looking very strong on debut in this competition. Might be someone that fights for the rookie championship, maybe not throughout the course of this year, but maybe next year as well, given that we're already halfway through this campaign. Also, about 20 laps into this fuel run and into this race, things have been very, very clean. Only one retirement. I think that was Gary Corley, who I don't think even took to the green flag. Maybe some technical issues. 22 cars here at New Hampshire.
You know, I hear Matt, and I think Jean-Francois, who is a second behind David Rodriguez. So they're close. There could have been an amazing segue opportunity there. Could you have imagined the segue?
As long as we're not getting too punny, because I think then Paul Smith is going to start complaining about some of the humor up here in the racespottv booth. There comes a move from Mike Rigney looking to the inside of Chris Lanini in through turns 1 and 2. He sent it deep into the corner, but Lanini hangs strong. Alex Guyon has a good view from the back, and of course Alex Guyon rode around with significant damage for a large part of that race at Motegi. That was one of the great things that we were talking about, the fact that he knew that with the number of cars already watching on from the sideline, just running around might get him a top 10 finish, and the points that came with that. One thing that you will note here, Dylan, as I'll get the yellow pen out, the telestrator, as we come down this back straightaway.
Please do.
The steering wheel, it's not pointed straight when you're driving straight. It is pointed off slightly to the left. It's a bit of an adjustment for drivers who aren't used to that sort of a thing.
You know what? That's a great point right now, because while in series like IndyCar Series or obviously NASCAR, the wheel is always pointed a little bit to the left. So when you're holding it straight, it's just off-centered. It's offset by just a little bit. Obviously, that makes sense. You'll be turning left. You don't want to have to turn too much. It's just, it lowers the reaction time. And these Lotuses, well, you're really going to have to worry about making sure that wheel's completely turned to the left. That's just kind of how it goes. These cars are not really made to be driven in ovals, but you know what? They put on a fantastic show.
They really do. I mean, I just think back to what we saw in our season opener from Homestead. Really some incredible stuff. And like you said, not a car necessarily designed on ovals, but very much produces the type of racing that we enjoy watching. And you get to catch all the action here live on racespottv, rebroadcast, of course, with our partners at ESTV. Battle for the race lead. Well, it opened up very slightly, but last lap It was 1/10 quicker for the Candyman, and now looking rearwards from the series organizer and the race leader, we see the Candyman is stalking him down.
The Candyman does what the Candyman can. Anzaldo, you gotta have to see it coming. Anzaldo is just keeping in front. You know, I wonder if this is part of a strategy for Wardlow, because you know who's using up the most fuel right now? It's Anzaldo. So maybe he's going to try and make Anzaldo have to use as much fuel as he possibly can, because he's going to save a few laps. Wardlow is, by just sitting in that draft behind.
It's interesting, though. I compare and contrast this to what we saw on Monday, where George Anzaldo was running very strongly in the DW12. Fastest lap for Dustin Wardlow, though, at 26.0. Oh, someone goes even faster. Trevor Malone at 26.029. Wardlow with a 0.72 has really turned up the pace. And while clean air in that DW12 was so important, Dylan, it doesn't seem to be the case here today. Anzaldo is maybe running a very steady pace, but Wardlow is really able to follow much closer than I thought we'd see here.
I agree. I think he's just stalking his prey right now. I don't necessarily think that he can't get by Anzaldo. I mean, Dustin Wardlow could do it. We've seen times when he's been close enough, but he's just sitting in the draft, and I think it's the same for David Siwa. You know, he sees what's going on in front, doesn't want to push it too hard. He could, and he might still, especially if he's able to get a little bit closer than where he is this lap, but at this moment, there's still a lot of race left to be run.
I tell you what, it's probably a good chance to take a look at our SimXperience driver profile and talk a little bit about the Canadian David Siwa. First podium last time around at Motegi. It's been an up and down kind of a campaign. 9 starts, 5 top 10s, which I think just illustrates that he is a very strong and consistent driver, but he's only been able to convert them into 3 top 5 finishes. Missed out on the first race from Homestead, Miami. He debuted on the road courses. That's where we thought Lavoie Motorsports were going to be quick, but they've learned quickly. They have really gotten up to speed in all facets of the Lotus 79.
It's pretty amazing, and obviously we're looking at all the stats of Syrah, and that third place finish was at Motegi. You know, it's interesting to me that not only is Anzaldo doing well here after doing well at Motegi, but it's also Syrah. Could we see a first-time winner?
We were kind of hyping it up, so maybe I think we're due after maybe some commentators' curses came down. Looking rearwards, by the way, just a little bit, from Matt Taylor, who has gotten around his teammate Aaron Morgan. This is for 5th and 6th position, so Taylor is now back up to where he had qualified. As we ride from the rearward shot, you can see Chris Fowler has done a good job to stem the loss of positions that he was having, now sitting pretty steady in about 7th spot, but of course there is a long way to go. We are halfway into this fuel run, and I tell you what, Dylan, hypothetically, if you're feeling brave, you could come down on, you know, maybe lap 40, maybe lap 41, and make this your short stint. Try and find a little bit of clean air, but that's not the case in these Lotus 79s. We know how quick they are when the fuel burns off. You do not want to fill your car up unless it's absolutely vital, as Trevor Malone continues to turn up the wick. Another fastest lap powered by ATVO. This time it's a 25.927.
See, I know what you're saying about that. I think it's just too risky right now. There's no guarantee you're going to get clean air, because this track is only a mile. There's a lot of cars in a lot of places. Look how far back they are stretching. I mean, by the time the leaders are in the middle of the backstretch, the drivers on the other side of the track are just getting to the start-finish line. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best play right now. And, I mean, pitting now is going to put you at least a lap behind, if not 2 laps easily.
Good point.
And if there's a caution, you're well and truly in the thick of it.
No, that's a very good point, especially at these short tracks, and that's going to be something we see over the course of the next 3 races. Oh, DJ Clark has had a technical issue and dropped him out of the race, so now down to just 21 cars out there on the track, but they're separated by 11 full seconds. You can see Chris Reagan in the silver and purple machine just working his way through turn number 4 on the track map in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. Meanwhile, your race leaders already flying themselves through turns 1 and 2 onto this back straightaway. There is a bit of a gap that's opened up here between Trevor Malone in 10th and Jean-Francois Matt, 1.5 seconds separating 10th and 11th positions. It'll be interesting to see, Dylan, how that develops as Matt Taylor rips the outside line. He's searching for 4th position.
It's extremely interesting looking at what a driver like Matt Taylor and Mike Razmas, what their strategy is. By the way, Razmas is up to 9th place, so he's definitely making his way through slowly but steadily. Started 12th, has gained 3 positions, while Matt Taylor, I mean, he's really only gained, 1 spot throughout the race. So, but we've looked at Taylor as the more aggressive driver so far. I don't know if that's just because of the way he keeps finding himself in battles, or if the fact that we're seeing so much more of him because he's up front right now. I don't really see much more that he can do without burning some of his car up right now. I mean, we're starting to see within 10 laps, well, I should say within 15 laps, pit stops.
I'm not sure if Taylor is necessarily having to fight that hard. He did lose a number of positions on the race start, but then Morgan and O'Brien, all part of the Avatar Order racing crew, along with Matt Taylor. That might have just been some teamwork, letting your driver fighting for the championship to get to the front. Morgan's still in the mix, but really it's looking like a 2-horse race between Razmas and Matt Taylor. Of course, it was Razmas that took victory at the Grand Prix of Sonoma, which was the second to last race that we had. Then we went to Twin Ring Motegi, where Taylor, I think, saw the writing on the wall, came down onto pit road during that first caution and managed to escape some of the carnage and some of the chaos that we saw, and in the end it took him into victory lane. There is Razmas, though, now hunting down series newcomer, sending it deep into the corner. Interesting to see just how many different lines can be run at a track like this, Dylan.
Yeah, it is interesting to see all the different lines that are being run here, and you know what? I thought that we'd see drivers running up a little bit higher on this racetrack. I know that we've, in other series, usually we see, maybe it's the different aero packages, but I know the IR18s, you basically have to run the top 3, top 2 lines up there to be able to keep that momentum and make sure the car doesn't get too unsettled. It seems like because these cars are not as aerodynamically defined as the IR18s, they can get around and manage it a little better going down low with all the bumps and everything.
Talking of Indy cars, by the way, Dylan, IndyCar heads to the Music City this weekend. I am very excited about what we will see from Nashville as Dustin Wardlow now takes the fastest lap of 25.848. The time just continuing to pick up as we burn off that fuel. But it should be a fun race from Nashville, and I'm hoping it's a bit of a staple on the NTT IndyCar Series schedule. Maybe we can even get it into the iRacing service.
Oh, well, that would be a beautiful thing. Maybe we can keep saying it, maybe get a little bit loud, and then they'd be forced to listen to us. But hey, what do we know? We just want to have Nashville in the service. I love the fact that they're about to go over the bridge with around, 30 participants?
It's a stacked field. Not just stacked, but so many strong drivers that are going to really make it an interesting race. I think last I heard was 27. But you never know. You might get a couple more. Top Gun Racing making their debut. RC Enerson, debut on the road course, I should say. Potential full program for them in 2022. Feels a bit weird to say that because it was just a couple of months ago. It feels like that we were saying new campaign for 2021. Meanwhile, out front, front 2 are breaking away. Wardlow 4/10 behind Anzaldo. David Sirois has now lost about 6/10 of a second to the Candy Man. These two cars are really stretching their legs as we head to that pit stop window.
Yeah, I mean, when do you think we're going to start to see cars come down pit road? Because obviously we're going to see Anzaldo probably be the one that comes in with the early comers here. But, I mean, some drivers like Wardlow, they can just chill for a little bit longer out on the circuit. And the longer you are out there with a very light tank of fuel, the faster you're going to go compared to a driver that maybe is going to go with an undercut.
I think you stay out there. You stay out there. You hope for some sort of carnage coming off a pit road. We saw multiple cars. In fact, we saw the race complexion change when the leader made a mistake coming off of pit road, just getting onto the power a little bit too aggressively. That was Alexis Newsom trying to win the race off of pit road. Then, of course, we saw Alexander Van der Sant making a similar mistake. Neither of them bringing out the caution, but it does slow up the cars behind and really does compromise their entry on towards pit road. But lap 48 about to be in the books, only a couple of laps away, a couple of miles away as well from the magic mile. I don't necessarily think fuel saving has been so important either for anyone behind Ansaldo, because Wardlow is having to run as close as he can to just keep that pressure up, as now it's Razmas, the championship leader, that has the fastest lap at 25.778. I think you want to stay out there for as long as possible, because clearly the pace continues to ratchet up.
If this race was around 10, 15, 20 laps longer, I think we would see drivers trying to save some fuel. Kudos to the race, the series organizers making it 142 laps. So we're not really going to see, unless yellows work the way that they do, we're not really going to see any fuel save runs.
I am knocking on the special blocks of wood that we have here at RaceSpot TV,
boy.
Dylan. Can we go without a caution in today's race? I mean, I did think that we were only going to see one at most, which is the lowest we've ever seen at this particular facility in 4 years of competition, but I really get the inclination as Ansaldo now goes fast. It's just an indication that really run this race as long as you can as we enter the fuel window on lap 51. If we go green to the end, it really does make things very difficult, because there are cars, for example, Mike Razmas, now almost 4 seconds off the race lead.
I mean, that's going to be an entirely difficult thing that will all be able to be made back up through the 2 pit stops that these drivers will most likely have to do in this race.
So lap 52.
Ansaldo's coming in.
So Ansaldo puts the message out. He's coming down as Razmas takes that fastest lap away. Watch for the 6 car onto the access road very early to make sure he can slow down as safely as he can. Everyone else is staying out there. Here comes the number 6 car, rolls himself onto pit lane, and now trundles down at what seems like a very pedestrian, I think it's 50 miles an hour, the speed limit here.
45 is exactly what that speed limit is. It feels like it's going to take years.
And this is crucial. See on the bottom right portion of your screen, the Candyman is already coming into the final corner. He's not coming down onto the lane either, so Ansaldo will go a full lap down. As the caution flies, that is crucial. Ansaldo will be trapped 1 lap adrift from the rest of the field. His saving grace might be if everyone else comes down onto pit road, Dylan, but he will be stuck at the back of the field.
Everyone definitely will come around, but here's my question. Was he a lap down when the yellow came out?
It's a good question indeed, as Wardlow gets on the clutch to save some fuel, as I'm sure he is close to that point of having to splutter himself onto the lane. Let's take a look at this, and I believe that's Alex Guyon and Chris Staples. Is that a close call for Nick de Groot, who just about got through the smoke and the mess in front of him? We'll take one more look at the RaceSpot TV replay and pick up what happens here. It's going to be Staples who sends it deep into the corner. You don't really get a good look at what happened from that vantage point, Dylan.
Not at all. You know, I'm trying to kind of...
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's a dive bomb if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, that's a send and a half. Let's jump on board with the motorsports.com editor, Nick de Groot, as the cars indeed are working themselves onto pit lane. And watch this close call. Staples up the track, and de Groot just about gets away with that one. I think no car will have sustained major damage, but the damage is done in terms of the hopes for victory for the pole position man, for George Ansaldo.
So, in my research, he is a lap down by a few dozen yards.
He will get the lap back, that is for sure. But it promotes.
So unfortunate.
It is so unfortunate. But you know who it promotes into the race lead now?
The magic mile magician.
What happened to Dustin Wardlow in that pit cycle? Because he spent 16 seconds stationary in the box.
Was he speeding?
I don't think that's speeding. It would have been a much longer... Oh, no. Has he taken tires?
Oh, no. You know what? I wonder if he meant to? I mean...
that must... Let's see if we can dial up what happens here, because it's the only thing I can think of. Here we go. Wardlow goes up on the... Oh, there you go. Only car onto the jack. And immediately, I think, realizes his mistake. And that's what happens, Dylan, when you miss half the season. In effect, he's done 4 races in 2021. It's just a mistake. And now, both Wardlow, both Anzaldo have a lot of work to do.
Well, you know who this promotes. It's Siwa.
More importantly, guess who's in second now?
Matt Taylor.
He was a man on a mission. Razmas, the championship rival, is in 6th. This is gonna be fun. I think I have to take a little bit of the responsibility for the caution as well, Dylan. Let's be completely honest. Well, 1 caution on the day so far, an exceptionally clean start to today's race. But we pace ourselves behind Benny. There goes Anzaldo to get his lap back. The lights are off on the pace car. We will be back to racing the next time around. It will be a one-stopper for the entire field. Of course, not too much strategy in effect here now, but Taylor in 2nd, Razmas in 6th. And Dylan, I was just saying, I think I take some of the blame there for the responsibility and putting the commentator's curse down.
I mean, in that case, I also shall take some of the responsibility. I will not let you be the only person charged with larceny, with stealing, you know, a result. Okay?
Maybe George Anzaldo is going to be calling us up and saying, stop saying stuff. Just keep it factual. That's all you can say now in the racespottv commentary booth. Pace truck is off. We are ready to get back underway in the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. It's David Sirra up front, but all now eyes will be focused further back in your field. What can the Candyman do? What can Anzaldo do as the green flag is back out?
There is a huge mess of drivers right in front of Dustin Wardlow. How is he going to make his way through?
Here you take a look at that aerial look of the gaggle of cars. Aerial look brought to you by ATVO, graphical partners at racespottv. It's all behind Razmas, who has David Rodriguez and Trevor Malone. The Lavoie Motorsports machines were side by side, and they will continue side by side heading in towards turn number 1 and 2. Razmas is defending for all of his might as the Candyman tries to make up some positions, but it's going to be hard, Dylan, but there is still a long way to go in today's race.
Anzaldo has made 1 position back, and he's trying to make another, and he almost gets into the left side of, I think that was, or was it Chris Staples? Yes. Yeah, I believe so. I'm messing up my drivers here, but nonetheless, Anzaldo is having a whale of a time right now.
Almost 3 wide coming out of turn number 2, and I think this is not necessarily the position he wanted to be in, but he will relish the opportunity to duck and to carve his way through the field. He's going to have a lot of work to do as Wardlow is side by side with Lionel Kalisto.
Ooh, they almost get together.
Sent deep in through the corner by the Candyman. Nothing doing as Kalisto will hang on in the wood-colored machine. Always interesting to see the paint scheme that the 97 car has across of Lionheart Series competition. Now looking in the rearview mirror as Craig Forsyth is trying to make something happen while all of this carnage is going on as they shuffle around for track position. You can see Mike Rigney and Chris Lanini have just single-filed themselves out as Rigney just comes across the block. In through turn 3 and 4, though, the gap for the race lead still 0.4 of a second.
You know, we've only got 21 drivers on track, but this is some amazing racing. We had almost 30, I believe, at Motegi, so there's a lot fewer drivers here. Doesn't matter, though. As long as these guys put on some clean, hard, and fair racing, then that's all you can ask for.
And for those just joining us, I can see some guys in the YouTube chat who are just tuning into this Lionheart Retro Series race, and Zaldo qualified on pole position. He led the entirety of the first stint, came down, the only car to come down under green flag conditions. He was then stuck. He was caught out by the worst timing of the caution that he would have hoped for, as it was Chris Reagan and Alex Guyon coming together and getting rather aggressive in through turns 3 and 4. That trapped him 1 lap down. He has cycled around to the tail end of the field and is working his way as we jump on board with the butt kicker on board. And we can see, even though you're able to follow relatively closely, Dylan, getting close enough to make a move happen seems to be just a little bit more difficult than we would think.
It definitely is tough to make that final move. I still think drivers who are in second are going to be much happier just sticking it in second and waiting, because again, there is still a number of laps to go. We have not hit the halfway point just yet. We will in just a few laps' time. So why push it too hard when there could be a mistake that happens, sends both drivers into the wall? We got to look at the temperature, the weather, 24 degrees Celsius, ambient 36 degrees on track. So it's a pretty nice track temperature, kind of around where we typically see it for a cloudy, gray-skied New Hampshire afternoon. 35% humidity, 10 km/h wind. So pretty bang on average, I'd say.
What I would say, though, is it's mostly cloudy, so it does mean that you may get those moments where the sun is shining. It will bake the track just that little bit more, and just watch out for... It's all about adapting to the situation at hand, and that's the same thing when it comes to the 10 km/h winds that we're seeing, Dylan, is making sure that you understand what your car is doing at all points in time. So when you get that gust of wind that just tries to blow you across the track, you know what you should do.
Cloudiness in New England? Color me shocked.
It's almost like the iRacing team does a great job with their weather modeling.
It's almost like they're about to perfect it even more.
You very nicely built me into what I was just about to say. The wonderful broadcast that iRacing put on for the 4 hours of Charlotte. Of course, all benefiting the National MS Society. Almost $50,000 were raised in 4 hours of racing. One of the greatest things was, for every donation that we got, Greg Hill and a number of other members of the iRacing team were on hand to give us some insights to the latest developments coming to the iRacing service. And, well, it's not necessarily going to be a factor when we come to these oval races, because you don't tend to race on ovals when it's sprinkling. But when you go road course racing, which we'll do a number of times to close off this 2021 Lionheart Retro Series season, maybe next year, Dylan, the addition of rain will be something the drivers have to deal with.
There's a lot of questions there, especially in official series during the iRacing week. Is it going to be known in advance? Are we going to see rain or realistic weather come in a league schedule? Is it going to be a fixed setting? We don't know yet. There are many question marks how the rain will do. It looks like it's going to affect the cars in a very believable and realistic way, as it should. So how is it going to be worked with by the league administrators? I wonder if it's going to be something like custom setups, fixed setups. You kind of choose, and sometimes if you go into a racetrack where there's no official setup, then maybe you have a custom setup, or you say, do what you want to do. Who knows? There's a lot of decisions that will need to be made by a lot of administrators and iRacing itself for the weekly series.
I tell you what, if the Lionheart guys want us to decide when we have rain or not, I'm happy to take on that responsibility. Just a random rain shower.
Always rain.
Yeah, well, no. You've got to do it to bring the maximum amount of drama. That's what we're all about, isn't it, Dylan? We want drama, we want story. So I tell you what, why not, for example, at Sonoma. It doesn't rain that often at Sonoma, let's be completely honest. That's why it's yellow for about 360 days of every calendar year. Let's just throw a random sprinkle of rain through, I don't know, maybe only turns 1 and 2 to make things that much more interesting.
Only
Yep.
for the last 80 to 90% of the race. Like the 80 to 90% range, like for 5 or so laps, it'll rain there. Force everyone to decide whether or not to come down into the pits or stick it out. That's what I want to see.
That would be fun. It's also fun out front. They are starting to break away once more from the rest of the pack. Taylor has been so strong, making passes on the outside line. Would not be surprised, Dylan, if he's able to get around David Sirrah, but Sirrah's looking for his first race victory. He's not going to make it easy. I just wonder the experience that Taylor has. We'll see. What can Taylor do to try and find some grip in this Lotus 79?
He's going to try and go everywhere that he possibly can go to make David Sirrah's life, well, a very unfortunate act right here.
77 laps, so we are officially past the halfway point of the race. 21 laps into the stint as well, so about 30 laps from getting to that final cycle down on pit road as we're looking rearwards from your race leader. Look at the line that Sirrah takes in comparison to Matt Taylor. Low line versus high line, and of course, tires aren't necessarily the be-all end-all in this Lotus 79, but when it comes to the end of the race, Dylan, when it comes to finding that just a little additional amount of purchase as you try and sling some speed, sling some momentum to get the move done, it might be just trying to preserve the life, preserve the tires itself to get to the end.
I think so, but again, the question marks that we've had, because I don't know about you, Arjuna, but every time I think, well, maybe the tires are going to be worn down, I always hear the exact opposite from the driver. So tires are very, I guess you could say, different on these Lotus 79 cars just because of how the car is set up and how the tires are created. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for the drivers racing in this race, but it's definitely a different lifespan than we see on more modern cars.
I've got a question for you, Dylan. Why is this place called the Magic Mile when it's not actually a mile long?
Isn't it 1.058 miles long?
I know, and it just irritates me. It's just one of those things where if you're going to call it the Magic Mile, you should make it exactly 1 mile long.
Okay, well, at that point, I think you're just nitpicking, Arjuna.
Well, okay, that's nitpicking.
The magic
yes.
1.058 miles.
It's got a certain charm. I will say that's nitpicking. You know what is not nitpicking is Mike Razmas side by side with Chris Fowler trying to get something done, but can Fowler hold on with the outside momentum in towards turn one? I think Fowler should be able to hold on unless Razmas can really send it deeper with the championship on the line. I don't know if the 68 can afford to be so aggressive. Fowler has to give up. It's Razmas into the top 5. What is not nitpicking, I will finally I will not get to the point that I wanted to say because Fowler goes deep in through turns 3 and 4. Nothing doing, I think, for now. What is not nitpicking, Dylan, is turn 2 at Road America is not turn 2.
Okay, that's fair. That's really fair. You know what? It's not okay that you brought this up because the frustrations are very valid from our RaceSpot team.
Oh, it's not just there, though. Everywhere seems to have their own unique...
At Road America.
Well, Road America's got its own unique way of counting corners. Zolder, I was commentating in a race there from the other national track in Belgium. 4 different corners somehow combobulate themselves, all to be known as turn 7. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, 1 small chicane.
And then 2 right-handers.
Yeah, turn 7. And then you look at the chicane as 1 turn, which, yeah, you can look at a chicane as 1 turn. Sometimes some tracks will look at the first left-hander and then the next right-hander, or vice versa, as 2 separate turns. As Zolder makes it 1 turn and then says, you know what? The next chicane is just going to be a part of a 4 total turn section, 3 to 4 turns.
If anyone wants racespottv to help naming your and numbering your track and corners, we're happy to provide those services. Just send us an email, contact@racespottv. I'm sure we can do it very nicely for you.
Tanky potty curve.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was... Oh, that was so much fun. The race against the flood that we did in association with VCO Esports. So many great events on the iRacing service going to charity as well, as fastest lap goes to Craig Forsyth. That's down in 19th position. 25.710. Curiously, though, Dylan, we are, of course, on a slightly newer tire model than when the Lionheart Retro Series first came to the Magic Mile. Fastest lap, the race lap record, a 25.058. That is almost 7/10 slower than a couple of years ago. Just gives you an indication for the constant evolution that goes on here on the iRacing service as the battle for the race lead is down to less than 2 car lengths.
Matt Taylor is playing some hardball right here. Oh, did he get into the wall on the right side? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's going to go down the inside in a slide job indeed. But will David Searle try to go right back at him? It looked like he just gave him the position.
That was, yeah, a little bit less easy than I thought we'd see. For a moment, I thought Searle was the one that had gone up into the outside wall. Not sure, but now I think the pressure will come for the 99 car from Michael O'Brien from behind, looking for redemption after a very disappointing day from Twin Ring Motegi. Fastest lap first to Taylor, then to Razmas. The championship favorites are heating it up here from the Magic Mile.
I knew I wasn't seeing things. He totally did hit the wall with the right side of his tires.
And that was coming out of turn 4, right?
Yeah, that was coming right out of turn 4, right as he was lining up that move down the front stretch. So here we go.
So
here we will see.
I think we've gone a little bit too far back to just watch on here. And let's jump on board with the 8 car and take a look with the buttkicker onboard camera. Was Dylan right? How hard does he get into the wall?
It's a very weird look here. He just veers to the right, and it looks less like it happened from the onboard, I will admit. But if you look from an up above angle, a bird's eye view, it definitely looks like he hit the wall.
I'll believe you. I know you, both of us wear glasses. I have no doubt that you probably have better eyesight than me when it comes.
I bet both of us have better eyesight with the glasses on.
Well, that's for sure. I wouldn't want to trust me to do anything without those glasses on, but this is where things get interesting. Taylor has that clean air and also now has the buffer of 2 teammates between him and his main championship rival as Nick de Groot comes down onto pit road.
Interesting. Oh, and a follower as well.
Chris Staples.
Yeah, Chris Staples. You know what?
You can make it to the end.
See, you can, and I thought we were going to see maybe Dustin Wardlow or George Ansaldo trying to roll the dice a little bit and doing it here as well.
De Groot stationary for about 6.9 seconds. It's a longer stop for Staples, so clearly either some damage or maybe he's made the same mistake as the Candyman and accidentally ticked that magic box that gives you tires. Out front, Taylor has picked up the pace. He has set his afterburners to maximum attack. He is now half a second clear of the 99 car.
You know, not that this has anything to do with what we were just talking about, but if Dustin Wardlow somehow is able to win this race, and I think this is already true for him, can we please coin the term the Magic Mile Magician?
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. Chris Staples, by the way, stationary for 47 seconds, so I do think there's either some damage or maybe some speeding penalty, but it didn't look like he was necessarily that much faster, as you can see on the inside as we ride on board with your championship leader, Mike Razmas, and the SimXperience onboard look. Didn't necessarily look like he had got up into the wall or had any damages. Now you can see 5 cars have broken away. It is 1.5 seconds between Razmas and Fowler behind. It might be a five-car fight for the race lead because 5 cars still only separated Dylan by 1.5 seconds.
It's amazing to me. We started this broadcast just an hour ago. We had some practice. We had qualifying. The race is so close to being over. This is such a fast lap time. And I know we've been talking about that all day, all night. But we really have to understand from a driver's perspective, when you're coming into a race that you know is going to be very quick, how does that play in your mind, the moves that you want to make?
I think it's an interesting one because based on last time, and we're trying not to talk so much about Twin Ring Motegi, Dylan, but based on last time, they would have known that attrition is important. Getting to the end, making sure you've got a clean car, and just trying to make sure that we didn't have 10 cars at the end of the race. I mean, let's be real there. No one wanted to see that sort of a race. When you come to a track like this, it is just as crazy, but in a very different type of a way. You're not going to see the 4 and 5 wide stuff that we saw. What we might have is a potential caution. It is the number 10 car of David Rodriguez. I'm only saying it because he's stationary on the inside of the track. We saw, though, on Monday night, the iRacing system has been a little bit more lenient as Taylor puts in the fastest lap once more with a 25.612. We might stay under green, but Rodriguez has got to keep this clean. The debut has come to a disappointing end.
It totally did, and Matt Taylor is about to round him right there. Oh, that's a shame for Rodriguez. He was having such a fun and unique race, I'd say. We'll catch the replay here, and we'll find out exactly what happened.
Oh!
So he got together with someone. I think, you know, looking at it from a very quick angle, kind of gets up, makes him get a little bit loose. Can't quite see who that is up there. You kind of have to find fault with Rodriguez there.
I believe that's Chris Fowler. We will take a look at the aerial look and go super slow-mo. Fowler is, yeah, I think you're right there, Rodriguez. I think maybe just thought he was clear, and there he spins back first, and digs himself into the tire barrier as well. I think that's what did the majority of the damage there. So we will rejoin the live pictures. Only one caution on the day. It's been very, very clean, very fun so far. 42 laps to go, and we are well and truly in the pit stop window.
We definitely are, and it's going to happen within the next 5 or so laps. So we saw drivers, namely Nick DeGroot, come in 6.9 seconds in the stall. These drivers are going to have 10 fewer laps to worry about fueling up for. So how long will it take for them to get fuel?
Maybe 5 seconds. That's a
huge difference.
It's not modern F1. I mean, let's be honest, when you're looking at sub 2 second pit stop. So that's still a very, very quick time down on pit road and stationary. Is, for those wondering, we are 47 laps into the stint, and yes, that does include a couple of laps under pacing, so we may be looking at that window really opening, Dylan, in about 6 laps time, as it's now Chris Lanini in the 92 car that takes that fastest lap.
I mean, if we're staying green for the entirety of the rest of the way, which obviously we're talking about it, it's like talking about a shutout in hockey. Once you mention, or a perfect game in baseball, once you mention it, it's obviously not going to happen. But if we do stay green and the lap times are around every minute, we're getting around 3 laps or so, we're going to end up having this race last, I believe, underneath an hour.
Crazy. Just crazy, and in total contrast to what we saw the last time around. And really, I think that's an impressive bounce back from these drivers. It's
agreed.
An indication, Dylan, of what we wanted to see from Motegi. Didn't get the race that we wanted there. But if you're watching here on RaceSpottv, Thursday nights, these Lotus 79s, they always put on a show.
They do always put on a show, and Lionheart in general puts on a fantastic show. I mean, obviously the 3 series that it runs is just awesome, and we love to be able to broadcast them all. Arjun, I believe you're part of all 3 series, and Justin Prince is with you for the other 2. Am I correct about that?
You are, and as AJ Musselman points out, who competes in both the IndyCar and the Speedway Series, this race is going to be done in 15 minutes. Will be done before 9 p.m. here on the West Coast, which I'm going to be honest, that means we'll be off air by 9:15, one of the shortest broadcasts we've had in 2021. This is the battle for 12th on back. Jean-Francois Matt has his rear-view mirrors filled of Chris Reagan and Isaac Snyder side by side across the start-finish line. The pink and blue machine sends it deep through turn number 1. Doesn't run up the track, doesn't cut off the run from Staples. Staples holds on. Here comes Anzaldo to the inside.
Oh, that was so close to being disaster and catastrophe right there. Snyder got really aggressive in the other side of this track, and hey, it almost worked out for him, but it just could not get it to stick. Look at that, 25.4, 25.4. Is that the same exact lap time that showed up with our fastest lap ticker?
It may have been. I just looked away for a moment and was focusing on this incredible action behind Snyder and Anzaldo. It's the Candyman and Ariel Alanis who are scrapping it out. You can see that outside line is where you want to be. Alanis comes down onto pit road. That window is well and truly open. Craig Forsyth has come down as well. When will your race leaders decide to follow suit? Taylor, Sirott, and O'Brien have been out there for 53 laps and counting. As we come across the start-finish line, it's Razmas that blinks first.
My question again is, how long will these pit stops take? DeGroot, honestly, his decision right there to go in, I like it for rolling the dice, but it's not going to work at all. Anzaldo's going in the next time by. DeGroot's lap times have been abysmal compared to everybody else who's able to stay in the draft. Sira is going in. Matt Taylor is in. Taylor, did he get in slowed down on time?
Well, that's a long stop from Rasmus. 7.6 seconds as he'll roll himself back out onto track, and you can take a look in the bottom right portion of your screen at where all the drivers are. Rasmus feeds out right behind Chris Fowler, who has now jumped up to third. We watch as your former race leader comes into his box. David Sira in front of him, also getting filled up. That is a much quicker stop. 6.6 seconds stationary from Matt Taylor, looking for 2 race victories in a row. It's a tricky pit exit. Watch here for the bobble over the bumps. All under control. Feeds himself out right behind, I believe that's the 45 of Craig Forsyth. Trying now to figure out where everyone is on pit road and this strategy, because it's an interesting time to come on down, because any mistake, Dylan, really could cost you in terms of if a car decided to bring out the caution. O'Brien rolls himself off as well as Aaron Morgan. All sorts of cars trying to get back up to speed, and really I have no clue where anyone is.
Yeah, no one does right now. Will finally, I think Matt Taylor is going to get the lead. David Sira as well right behind. Actually, Sira and I can't see exactly who that is.
That's Morgan. Morgan has jumped him on the pit window here. Can O'Brien, who is rolling himself off, get back out in front of Sira, bundle him off the podium? Is it an Avatar Order Racing 1, 2, 3? Yes, it is. Taylor from O'Brien from Morgan with 30 laps to go here at New Hampshire.
Amazing. Yeah, Morgan had a slow stop there, and obviously Matt Taylor, his pit crew able to execute order 6.6, so did a very good job right there.
Well, yesterday was the 4th. May the 4th be with you, Dylan.
Okay, how about August the 4th be with you?
I know. We've got to make them count where we can. Incredible.
I thought that was clever.
It was clever. I will say, with the pit stop window now being done, Taylor, O'Brien, Morgan, Sira, and Rasmus, your top 5. I feel for David Sira, leading for so long, running then in second once Taylor got on through. He will have to defend to hold on to 4th from the championship leader.
Yeah, and things shook up quite a little bit, but now Michael O'Brien is the man behind, and obviously, you know, you never want to see team orders come into play, but you don't think he's going to be racing him too hard, right?
I think you've got to be careful here. I don't think you can afford 1, 2, and 3 teammates. You cannot afford for anything to happen. You are watching coverage of the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. We are going to have to step aside for as short a commercial break as we can. Don't go anywhere. The final sprint to the flag right after this. Welcome back to RaceSpottv and coverage of the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. We are into the final 22 laps of action in what has been a thriller of a race. The Lionheart Retro Series has bounced back from a disappointing race at Twin Ring Motegi to show just what the Lotus 79s can do. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined by Dylan Coyle, as always, here on a Thursday evening. And Dylan, what fun it has been 20 laps ago, and Matt Taylor has stormed to the front of the field. He now leads by almost 1 full second from his teammate.
You know, this is the status quo race for the Lotus 79s in this Lionheart Retro Series. This is what we're used to seeing from all of these drivers. The entirety of the field is racing clean, it's racing hard, and it's really fast, really fun. 20 laps to go. I mean, we're talking maybe 5 minutes before this race ends if we stay green.
I think we're looking at maybe 8 minutes or so based on the timings that I'm getting from my live timing. And a reminder, you can follow along with our partners at ATVO, racespot.tv/Indy. Well, it is an Avatar Auto Racing 1, 2, and 3. They have been so consistent so far this season. They have broken away by about 1.5 seconds from the pack of David Sirra and Mike Rasmas. We can jump on board with the number 20 car and Chris Fowler as he runs around in 6th position. It's been an interesting day for our two championship protagonists. Matt Taylor lost about 4 positions on the start. He had to work his way up through the field back into podium contention, and once he got to the race lead, Dylan, he has not looked back. But after starting outside of the top 10, Mike Rasmas has shown a lot of patience to be in the top 5.
This is one of those races for Mike Rasmas where if he does become champion, he's going to have to remember this one because he's doing a very good job of keeping his nose clean. He could finish this race in 4th position, and while it will not be a win as he sees Matt Taylor win it, and I believe would go ahead of him in the championship standings, this is a race that is important for him to get right because it could have gone so wrong.
I mean, we didn't think qualifying would be important, but we are seeing that it puts you in a bit of a hole as makes you have lots of work to do. Swap around, by the way, for second as Morgan slides it down the inside of his teammate. O'Brien, can he fight back through the back straightaway? I think he's a little bit too far behind. 15 laps to go this time around. Is it the 48 car that's coming alive in the closing stages?
You were saying you don't risk it?
Oh.
Guess who's also fighting for the championship?
Well, he's fighting for the championship, but coming into this round, Dylan, I forget off the top of my head, he was 40-something points behind. That is almost a full race victory here in the Lionheart Racing Series. Victory gives you 60 points, so I don't know if...
Okay, 48 points.
I don't know if you would do it. I think you have to remember that you are fighting for a championship, and it's not just that the Drivers' Championship. It's a Teams' Championship. 1, 2, and 3. These guys have been so strong, so consistent to be now sitting almost 240 points in front of the chasing pack. Do you risk it, or do you make sure you hammer home the advantage you have?
I think these drivers, when they see a potential championship, I mean, Aaron Morgan is still in this racing battle for the championship. I mean, there's still a number of rounds to go. There's still double points in the Triple Crown. This is totally on for him. He's going to try and get around Matt Taylor, his teammate.
And he's the quicker car. It's only about half a tenth the last time around.
Oh, Taylor got a little loose coming off of turn 4.
Doesn't open the door just yet. You can see the 3 cars behind still single file. Sirra, Rasmas, and Fowler as the yellow flag is out. It's Trevor Malone in the always quick 34 teal machine. And that changes everything.
Oh my word, Arjuna. And this is going to be incredible.
And look at the damage. Look at the damage to that car. It's side by side with one of the motorsports car. That's got to be Alex Guyon, who in the 08 machine. Oh, that's what AJ Musselman was just talking about. There is lots of netcode at a track like this where you are racing at breakneck speeds. And we'll take a look at the aerial look. You can see maybe Guyon's a little bit late on the turn-in, but ultimately it's Malone that pays the price. Another hard hit into the tie wall.
That is an awful hit. They're just digging into the wall here at New Hampshire. we'll get a replay from the track cam, and I don't know if that's... I think even with netcode involved, I think you can say it's a racing incident with two drivers racing a little too hard. But I do see the turn-in. I feel like, you know, we were always talking about the last few weeks with the Lewis Hamilton Max Verstappen incident. You know what I'm saying, though. I feel like this is one of those incidents that is like 60-40 racing in a way.
Well, race control has been pretty quick in taking a look at that, and it does indeed appear to be a racing incident. Speaking of Silverstone and drama there, did you catch what happened when the Lionheart IndyCar Series went to Silverstone, Dylan?
No, did that happen?
No, even more chaotic. We're talking about through the last chicane, contact between the race leaders on the final lap of the race. I'll send you a link after this one so you can take a look at that one.
Send it to everybody here. Who wants one?
Well, and just a reminder, Dylan, we will head to Silverstone for what should be a fascinating race. We have a number of these ovals, these speedways to get our way through. The next couple of rounds will be all short track racing. First up, the Iowa Speedway. Then we go to Gateway and the Worldwide Technology Raceway before Michigan finishes a run of speedway races before Silverstone, Long Beach, Road America, and then that double points finish you were referring to at the Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, if I am Aaron Morgan, I am not showing any huge respect right now to Matt Taylor because I'm fighting for a championship. I know teammates, I know all of that, but you're fighting to get back into this championship battle. You got to go for it.
Lights are still on the pace car, which I believe means
7.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a 7-lap shootout here. So it's not exactly 7 miles, but it is near as makes no difference. 7 miles of racing to go. So that means 25-second lap time, Dylan. About 2.5 minutes for Aaron Morgan to make something happen here.
Amazing.
And it does mean, with that second caution, that unfortunately it's not looking like we're going to tie the record for the lowest number of cautions. 2 of the races have had just 1 solitary caution in 4 previous trips. A couple of the other races have had 4 and then 7, so a bit more bumper cars, elbows out sort of racing. But hopefully we'll finish under green and not get a 3rd finish under caution from this wonderful facility, Dylan.
Yeah, that would be a darn shame, and look at that. The lights are off on the pace truck. We're going to restart with 7 laps to go. Arjuna, do you have a drink of water next to you?
That's what I was just doing very quickly. It is time, though, Dylan. I'm putting you on the spot. Who's going to come out victorious here? Because anyone in the top 6 really has a chance, if you ask me.
You want to hear my bold guess right now?
As long as you knock on all the wood around you, just make sure.
Can you hear? Did you hear the knocking on wood happen right there?
No, but I trust you.
Okay. Michael O'Brien, Matt Taylor, Aaron Morgan come together.
Whoa. Mind blown right now. 2 cautions on the day. It is 7 laps to go here at the Magic Mile in the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. The pace truck is off, and immediately we go back to green flag racing. It is an avatar order racing 1, 2, and 3. Who will come out on top? 7 laps to go. Good start, and Mike Rasmas, the championship leader, is trying to look to get a move done on the Canadian David Siron. Nothing doing between the front 3. Saw a couple of cars poking their nose out, but across the line to complete this first green flag lap. Let's see what's going to happen. Not close enough for a move are any of the teammates.
They are getting closer, however. Going into turn 1. Oh, Morgan cooked it a little bit.
We're on board with Rasmas. You can see the snaking back and forth. Morgan using that drop to just try and close.
Sun.
Oh, the sun's come out. That's what I was talking about with the clouds. Who can adapt? 2 minutes left on the race here. Oh, that's a big wiggle from Aaron Morgan as he tries to get something done on his teammate. Looks to the inside through turns 1 and 2. Taylor shuts the door. Now does that open the door for O'Brien to have a look down the back straightaway?
Oh, man, the intensity right here. Going into turn 3. There's just 5 to go. Maybe a move around the outside. Nothing doing there.
I think the outside is where you want to be. Can Morgan get that over-under? No, he doesn't. Side by side across the line. Can Morgan get the place done? Or will Taylor slide himself up the track and close that door? He gives himself enough room. He makes sure there's no contact, but squeezes Morgan down this back straightaway. 3 to go at the line.
This is some amazing racing between the teammates right here. O'Brien is just sitting back, doesn't want to get too involved here, but he is ready to pounce.
We jump on board with the 45 car. Taylor has enough. Does he slide up the track? No, he doesn't. Fastest lap goes to Craig Forsyth. There is just enough racing room being left between these two cars. I might be wrong. Oh, there's the contact between the two cars. Morgan holds on, is shuffled up the track. 2 laps to go, 2 miles left to go.
He is still right there, though. He's going to try and go around the outside. If that's indicative of what we will see in this last 2-mile stretch, there could be some more fireworks.
Which way does Taylor decide to block, though, on that final lap? I think he's in control at this point in time. He has led this entire last portion of the race, but 1 lap to go. This is the lap that you need to lead from New Hampshire. Morgan, does he look inside? No, he pops himself back to the outside line, side by side into turn number 1. It's Taylor still in front.
He's going to try and do a swap around here. I think he's going to have the momentum. Will he try and go all the way down to the inside near the grass, going around the outside? I don't think it's going to work. He's going to try it.
What a race from New Hampshire, 142 laps, but it is Matt Taylor that takes his 2nd consecutive Lionheart Retro Series win. He moves himself into the championship lead at the SimXperience 150 at New Hampshire, presented by Dewar's Candy. My word, Dylan.
Unbelievable.
I'm glad you were wrong there. The teammates put on a show. There was a little bit of contact, but they were able to hold on to it. It's Taylor back to HyperX victory lane.
Anzaldo got P9, by the way, so a good recovery drive from him. Wardlow, 15th.
Well, the teammates 1, 2, and 3, they will celebrate, and they really deserve it. Ultimately, though, all the plaudits must go to Matt Taylor. A disappointing start to the race. He bounced back, and he bounced back in the only way possible. Taylor burns the house down from Loudon, New Hampshire. And Dylan, this is a staple on the Lionheart Retro Series calendar. We know why here in 2021.
Yes, because the racing that is produced here is nothing short of incredible. That was some amazing driving. I'm so happy we got to show it and talk about it with everybody in the YouTube chat. And of course, ESTV is going to have a great rewatch here.
Oh, the fans on ESTV will be treated to some fun. Let's take a look at these Carnox race results. Look at that gap. It is the closest race in 5 years here from the Magic Mile. Matt Taylor victorious. Less than half a tenth between him and his teammate Aaron Morgan, but it's an Avatar Auto Racing clean sweep of the podium. David Sirwa led for points in today's race. He is looking increasingly strong. The Lavoie Motorsports team really enjoying their run in 2021. Mike Rasmussen came into this race the championship leader, but it will swap around with Taylor out front. It is oh so interesting as we head next to the Iowa Speedway. Chris Fowler, Mike Rigney, Alex Guillon, George Anzaldo, and Lionel Callisto rounding out your top 10. Alex Guillon, one of the biggest movers, up 9. Lionel Callisto up 10. Chris Lanini in 11th with Craig Forsyth, Christopher Reagan, 2 cars also moving themselves up 9 positions, 12th and 13th. Isaac Snyder, Dustin Wardlow, the Candyman, finally loses at a track that he's won the last 3 races in a row. Great to see him, though, back in action in 2021. Ariel Alanis, Jean-Francois Matt, they're the final cars on the leading lap. That alternate strategy for Nick DeGroot leaves him stranded 1 lap adrift from the rest of the field, with Chris Staples and Trevor Malone completing your top 20. David R. Rodriguez debut was looking exceptionally strong for him, but the RSR Esport machine had a bit of contact with Fowler. He hit the back straightaway wall rather hard. He finishes in 21st position. Technical issues for DJ Clark mean he retires very early on, and I don't think we even saw Gary Corley after starting on pit lane. He finishes in 23rd position. It's time for the HyperX post-race show because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. And let's make our way straight into the HyperX victory lane. For the second time this week, we find Matt Taylor victorious at New Hampshire. But Matt, that was an extraordinary finish to the race here today.
Yeah, it was. We were really tight. Wasn't sure what the last caution was going to do, and actually what that was going to finish like. It might finish the same way even without the caution there, and had that draft and was running me down. It was a good hard battle there at the end.
How tricky was it to run in dirty air? I mean, it looked in complete contrast, Matt, to what we saw on Monday, where basically the race leader was able to gap the rest of the field. Not so here today. I mean, I think the furthest we saw the gap extended out to was just after that final cycle on pit road, where it was 1 full second. But then, I mean, even before the caution, like you said, your teammates behind were closing the gap, and I think we were getting a little bit stressed up here. I can't imagine what it was like for you there in the car.
I felt pretty good. I knew it'd be really hard to complete a pass, but really the key tonight working strategy, and I didn't qualify the best, but I was really confident in that. Staying kind of in clean air where I could, and taking advantage of a few runs, because really the passes I made were just guys would get the exit wrong and have to lift a little bit, and that was just enough of a run to be able to get some passes done. So between that and then working the strategy right, everything went really perfectly.
And I mean, for the team, Matt, you guys have been so consistent in 2021. 1, 2, and 3, as we have 2 more short tracks next up. First Iowa, then the Worldwide Technology Raceway. You guys are looking on form, and not just in the team's championship. You are now the points leader in that battle with Mike Rasmussen, but your teammate Aaron Morgan's getting thrown into the mix as well. You're in for a very fun second half of this season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The pace is definitely there, and this is going to be a fun race to the finish.
Congratulations on your second victory in Lionheart Retro Series competition in 2021, your second victory this week in Lionheart Racing Series competition. That was Matt Taylor from HyperX Victory Lane, and let's make our way then down to the next of our post-race interviews, where Dylan Cole is standing by with Aaron Morgan.
Aaron, so close to winning that race. What was it like battling with your teammate there?
Oh, a little nervous, you know, don't want to mess up or anything, but yeah, I knew we were gonna get through with a 1, 2, 3 in it, so I'm just really happy for that. It was a lot of fun. I cannot. There's no one else I'd rather race than Matt or Mike. I know he's farther back, but those two guys are the best, you know, racers in the whole league as far as I'm concerned, and I love going wheel to wheel with my teammate.
So we were talking about it. You are still alive in the championship battle. Did that cross your mind at all over the last few dozen laps?
Oh yeah, the last few races before, I'm trying to remember if it was before Sonoma or Motegi, I counted drops and I was tied in like a 3-way tie if you use drops. But without them, I was still a little ways back. I know going into this, my gap to the very, very front is going to grow just a little bit because Matt, you know, grabbed the win. But I'm happy that I'll make up some ground on Mike. You know, there's still plenty of time to go left. You know, not a huge difference in points, so I'm happy about that.
What happened with that last caution? Because it looked like you were gaining the momentum to potentially make a move around your teammate. It seemed like the caution kind of stalled that momentum out. Was that the ultimate deciding factor for you?
I don't think so. I think the caution actually gave me a little bit of a better shot. It really didn't make that much of a difference. I know I was going to catch him, and I know we were going to go wheel to wheel, because that's just how good, you know, the car would get real good even following, right? In those last like 5 laps, it just gets absolutely glued to the track. I knew I was going to do that no matter what, and I think the caution was more of a neutral on that fight.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, congratulations with your second place finish, and well done.
Thank you.
Great fighting and great respect shown between the two teammates. One final Avatar Order Racing driver to get to, and it's Michael O'Brien standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Michael, congrats on the podium. I'm sure it was a lot of fun watching your teammates battle up there, or was it a little scary for you?
It was just great watching the show. I was quite happy sitting in third there.
So tell us about what was going through your mind. Did you feel like you had a chance to win? Maybe they would get into each other. Maybe you would be able to follow the quicker car through. What was going on for your end of race?
No, I was quite happy just holding position there. Let those guys fight it out. They're the ones fighting for a championship. So obviously if they'd crashed, I would have picked up the pieces. But just getting such a great team result was really what was the main thing.
What do you think the key to your success was at New Hampshire? Because it seems to be a driver-centric track.
Just as a team, we'd worked on strategy, we'd looked at data even, and yeah, we played it perfectly, to be honest.
Awesome, and I guess the last question I want to ask you is, are you ready for some more short track oval racing?
Yeah, the whole oval experience has been a new one to me, but I've been having a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the podium finish, Michael. And back to Arjuna.
That wraps up our podium interviews, and we'll just watch these incredible scenes from the final couple of laps of action. I mean, I thought it would be Taylor, but really, I had no idea. It was going to be close, and ultimately, 0.052 seconds separating the drivers out front.
Amazing. Just incredible. I love the fact that this race went so well.
And now, Dylan, we get another 2 weeks off before we head to Iowa. Then it will be 2 more weeks before the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's all about short track racing now. And really, I mean, yes, 1 mile, maybe you can claim it's not really a true short track. But in cars as quick as this, I mean, we saw what happens sometimes when people were just a little bit too overcommitted. That's what brought out our 2 cautions on the day. Iowa's going to be fascinating. Gateway is going to be really fascinating. I love watching Indy cars around there. This is a really crucial part of the championship. Now, just taking a look at the points, Taylor is now 9 points in front of Rasmus. Morgan a further 38 points behind. It is still wide open with plenty to play for, with still plenty of racing to go.
That's just under a 20-point swing. And again, like I was saying, this was important for Rasmus to stay within a good bit because we knew that Taylor was going to come away with a larger haul of points. Rasmus made up a lot of positions, coming from 12th, finishing in 5th.
And ultimately, you mentioned double points still, and that's in effect for both Indianapolis and Auto Club. The title can still be well and truly on the line come the middle of December on our final race in this 2021 season, because it's not 60 points that is then giving you a victory. It's 120 points. We've talked about attrition being important so far in 2021. None more crucial on this run to the championship.
It's going to be so important to make sure you keep your nose clean. You don't get yourself involved in any incidents, because one bad move and then your championship battle takes a serious hit.
Here's the run off the final corner. We will see just how close it was. The closest finish in Lionheart Retro Series competition from the Magic Mile. The string of victories that the Candyman has enjoyed has come to an end. I do have to ask you, Dylan, before we start to wrap things up here, you have to pick one of 2 short tracks. Are you picking Iowa? Are you picking Gateway in terms of what's going to be an interesting finish in this next couple of races before we get back to the road courses?
Oh, absolutely, we got to go with Gateway. I think Iowa is great, but it's going to be even harder to pass there than it is at New Hampshire. Gateway, you've got that long front and back stretch where you are going to be able to get a run and maybe dive down the inside. So we could see that happen, Arjuna, just not at Iowa.
Well, it is time to wrap things up in what has been one of the quickest events we've had in 2021 across 3 different Lionheart competitions. Let's thank all the people that make this happen, starting with the SimXperience AccuForce Pro V2, the premier professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire SimXperience ecosystem, visit simxperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. For sim racers, the Buttkicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit has the missing driver-to-car connection, bringing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com and don't forget to use the promo code LION2021 for 20% off all orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz and don't forget to also use promo code Minus273 LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing channel. And it's not just them, but so many other names and partners that make the Lionheart Racing Series happen. To learn more about these names on your screen, or to learn a bit more about the 3 different competitions that the Lionheart sanctioning body puts on, visit lionheartracingseries.com and join the Discord to stay involved with all the latest comings and goings from the virtual paddock. Plenty more action to come in Lionheart competition before the Retro Series next heads to the track. Follow along with the Lionheart Series across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as they get set to go racing from the Lone Star State next week in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. ESTV has you covered for your esports needs. Follow them at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, while racespottv is your home to the best of sim racing action. Subscribe to us on YouTube by hitting that red button and hit the bell to get notified every single time we go live with the great sim racing series we get to cover. We will be back on August 19th from the Iowa Speedway for 172 laps to continue this run of short track racing. For now though, it is Matt Taylor once more in HyperX victory lane, and on behalf of the entire team at racespottv, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined as always by the wonderful Dylan Cole. We'll see you next time. For now, so long and goodbye from New Hampshire.